We hear the word balance thrown around all the time in wellness. But what does it actually mean when we lose it? Like, what's really happening inside? Well, there's this ancient Ayurvedic text, the Ashtanga Hridya, that gives us this incredible, surprisingly modern blueprint. So today, we're going to dive into its 12th chapter. It's all about pinpointing that exact moment things start to go off track in our bodies. And more importantly, how to spot those first tiny warning signs. All right, here's our game plan. First up, we'll map out where the body's main energies actually live. Then we're going to trace the step-by-step path from feeling great to feeling not so great. After that, we'll get into the 3 universal triggers that kick this whole thing off. And to wrap it up, we'll look at a real-life case study, what it actually looks and feels like when your kapha energy is out of whack.
So to figure out how something goes wrong, you first have to know where it's supposed to be, right? The Ashtanga Hridaya explains that our core energies, that's Vata, Pitta, and Kapha, are basically everywhere in the body, but each one has its own specific home base. We're going to start by mapping out the home of Vata, which is the energy of all movement.
Okay, let's talk Vata. This is the energy that governs all movement. It's made of air and space, so think dry, light, and always on the move. Vata is kind of the leader of the pack because it's the force that moves the other 2 doshas around. So, the big question is, where does this powerful driving energy set up shop?
And there you have it. Vata's key spots are the large intestine, the waist and hips, your ears, bones, and even your skin. But look closer. The text specifically calls the large intestine its special place. This is a huge deal. It's why Ayurveda is so focused on gut health for managing things like anxiety or restlessness. Those are classic Vata imbalances. It all comes back to Vata's home base, the gut.
So, now we know where these energies live. But how exactly does a dosha go from being happy at home to causing problems all over the place? The text makes it clear that it's not like flipping a switch, it's a gradual process. Let's walk through the steps. This whole journey into imbalance really happens in 2 main stages. The first one is called Shaya, which basically means accumulation, and the second is Kopa, or aggravation. You can think of it like Shaya is the early warning system, and Kopa is when the alarm bells start blaring. So, Chaya is subtle. It's just a slight increase of a dosha right in its own home turf. And what's really cool is that the text describes this as a built-in defense mechanism. Your body actually starts to make you dislike things that would make the problem worse. For instance, if your fiery pitta is accumulating, you might suddenly lose your craving for spicy food. That little nudge, that's chaya. But if we ignore that, we slide into kopa. This is where the dosha basically overflows its container and starts spilling into other parts of the body. This is the official start of the disease process, and it's when you really start to notice symptoms. We've covered the where and the how, but that leaves the biggest question of all. Why does this whole thing even start? What's the trigger? Well, the Ashtanga Hridaya boils it all down to 3 universal root causes that apply to pretty much every part of our lives. And here it is. This is the master key right here. This simple but incredibly profound statement says that all imbalance comes from less, wrongful, or more involvement of 3 things: our senses, the seasons and time, and our own actions. It's an amazing way to understand the root cause of pretty much anything going wrong. And this chart just breaks it down perfectly. Hina yoga is too little. Think about not getting enough sunlight or social interaction. Mithya yoga is wrongful use, like eating ice cream in the middle of winter or listening to really agitating music. And Ati yoga is too much or overuse, which, let's be honest, is a big one for us today. Staring at a screen for 12 hours, over-exercising, that's Ati yoga. And this logic of too little, wrong, or too much applies to everything: our actions, our senses, and even the environment around us. Okay, all this theory is fantastic, but let's make it real. The text gives these amazingly detailed descriptions of what happens when a dosha goes into overdrive. So we're going to use kapha, the energy of structure, earth, and water, as our case study to see what an imbalance actually looks and feels like in the real world. Just look at how specific these signs are. Kapha's natural qualities are heavy, slow, cold, and oily. So it makes perfect sense that when it increases, the symptoms are just exaggerated versions of that. You get excess oiliness, a feeling of heaviness in your body and mind, and that classic kapha symptom, chirparita, which literally means a delay in all activities. Procrastination. You can literally feel the qualities of the energy showing up as symptoms in your body. And just when you think you've got it figured out, you see this number, 62. This is where you see just how sophisticated the system is. It's not just about one dosha going up or down. When you look at all the possible ways that 3 doshas can increase, decrease, or mix and match with each other, you get 62 distinct patterns of imbalance. This is not a one-size-fits-all approach. It's a deeply personalized diagnostic system that's thousands of years old.
And that brings us right to the final piece of wisdom from this chapter. After laying out all this complexity, the text doesn't tell us to go memorize all 62 combinations. Instead, it gives this beautifully simple instruction. The real key is just observation. It's about recognizing the patterns through signs and symptoms, and doing it with an attentive mind. So the real question it leaves us with is, how attentively are we listening to the signals our own bodies are sending us every single day?